Live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello everyone, this is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. I want to take a live look there at our Shriners Cam overlooking downtown Portland. You got Mount St. Helens there in the background and obviously looking very nice, but very, very cold. If you were out there, you know that, and that's been going on here all week, and it's going to continue. We're going to discuss that. Again, this is Fox 12 Now. We're live streaming here from the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. We are live if you're watching right now. These are available afterward as well. And don't forget to download the Fox 12 Oregon app or go to kptv.com or the Fox 12 Now tab. But we've been giving you some different interviews and talk about the weather coming up, then also about how to prepare for it. And so we decided to take a talk to the Portland Bureau of Emergency Management. We have Devitt from there, who's a Community Preparedness Coordinator, and wanted to just discuss some of the roles that they have in preparing the city and the region here for this upcoming weather, but also some things that you can do at home to just general guidance. These are things that maybe you're already doing, or maybe it's easy to forget to do these things. You know, it's top of mind stuff, or maybe it's something that you didn't, that you forgot to do. But anyway, we'll have some of that advice for you and also talk about some ways that you can help out your neighbors. So let's get right into it. Here's Glenn talking about that. All right, well, Glenn, thanks so much for having some time to join us here today to talk about this. And, you know, we want to walk into some safety tips and things that people can be doing just to prepare and be ready ahead of time for whatever weather event this does turn out to be. But on the Portland Bureau of Emergency Management side, can you tell us just about some of the things that you're preparing for and taking steps to be ready for this event?
Sure, Greg. Yeah, we have a general role in the city is coordination. So people wonder what emergency management is. And it's basically when events escalate into something that requires a citywide response, we are involved to help manage all the bureaus working together. So it's everything from PBOT to environmental services to fire and rescue. So we kind of tie all those things together and fill in gaps where we can.
So it's that coordination of everybody and making sure that everything, you know, as you mentioned, filling in the gaps. Do you work with other regional agencies as well?
We do, certainly with the county, obviously, and sheltering. They are the leads for that effort. So we work with the county and the state and everyone else we need to get the job done. Disasters are not regional, or they don't stop at borders, as you know.
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, looking at, you know, potentially, and for anybody, just for context, we're talking about this on Tuesday. Obviously, weather patterns can change, things can differentiate, but generally speaking, it looks like we're going to have some kind of a weather event going Thursday through Friday at least, as far as precipitation and very cold weathers regardless, or very cold temperatures regardless that'll be happening. So looking at it from that standpoint, what are some of the things that you're anticipating and expecting as you're preparing for what could be coming up?
Right. Well, the good news is we have pros who are ready for this. PBOT, and especially, that they're geared up for weather. They do this all the time. It's routine for us, as odd as that seems. So that's good news. Mostly, we want people to prepare themselves and prepare their neighbors. That's really what every one of us can do and should be doing, because when emergencies strike, be they small or large, it's always the neighbor who is the one you can help and the one who can help you. So that's what we really encourage people to get educated and prepare. So power outages are something to be prepared for. Food and water, of course, you want to have that at all times stockpiled. Those are good first steps.
And let's go through some of those steps. Just talking about that, you know, you mentioned preparing and being ready to help your neighbor. What are some things that people can keep in mind when trying to think about that, as far as neighbors that maybe, you know, weren't as prepared, or just be ready to help them in whatever way you can?
Sure. All emergency response really is local. We talk about FEMA and large scale responses. But really, where it really matters is on the ground, neighbor to neighbor. That's where help comes from. So that's important. Do you want me to restart that?
And what are some specific steps that people at home can be doing to think about just ahead of time, you know, now before one of these bigger weather events happens?
Sure. So certainly checking on your neighbors is key. In all emergency response, neighbor to neighbor is the step. So knowing your neighbors, knowing who needs maybe some extra help. Checking on them before, during, and after the events, making sure their power is on, if they need medications, that sort of thing. So that's key. Making sure you have your own water and food stocked up. Don't strip the shelves bare at the supermarket. Everybody needs it, but certainly have enough to get your family through.
So this would be something to go out and maybe shop for that now before roads become, you know, treacherous at all, to make sure that you're stocked up.
Yes, it's a very good idea. As soon as the roads start getting icy, please stay off of them. We need the emergency vehicles out there, so we don't want to be rescuing other folks who could prepare now. So now is a good time to do it.
So talking about preparedness, having some food and water in place, what are some other major things that people can do just now to prepare for this potential event or really any kind of a weather event that could be happening down the road?
The most important thing I would encourage to take advantage of our Neighborhood Emergency Team Program, or NET. So portland.gov/net. We have volunteers across the city who we train for about 28 hours. It's a 4-day training. It's pretty expansive, and it teaches people how to respond to help their neighbors in an emergency, because as we know, in a crisis, there are only so many professionals on duty. So neighbor to neighbor is really the way to go. And that training, the real gist of it is to help people be prepared to help their neighbors without getting injured themselves.
And how does that, so this is something that anybody can volunteer for or join up for to get that training?
Right. So we say it's open to anyone who works, lives, or plays in Portland. If you spend a lot of time here. So we open up to those folks. So you can register. There's a 2-hour online pre-training. And then once that happens, when we announce classes, people can sign up for the schedule. It's usually a flexible schedule on weekends. And it's about 4 days. So all kinds of training, from search and rescue to basic medical to radio use, to then we put it all together at the end in the fun. We use the Portland Fire and Rescue Training Center, and folks go out and really test their skills at the same way pros.
And so talking about that training, just to give that a little bit more context there. So once you go through that training, can you walk through some of those things that you'll be specifically trained for, and how is it that you go about and help out your neighbors once you have that?
Sure. So we train for the worst possible thing, which is a major earthquake. That's the worst possible natural disaster here. And the point of that is, even if that does not happen in our lifetime, if you're prepared for that, you're prepared for pretty much anything. So that's the goal. Then ice storms become not that big a deal. Power outages are not that big a deal if you're ready for the earthquake. So in those kinds of things, those skills that we teach are, again, search and rescue, light search and rescue, medical response for first aid, critical first aid, and even some more advanced trainings when people become active. So deployment itself is triggered by PBEM. So we will notify our NETs, our volunteers, via text, email, and phone when they're needed. So looking forward to this week. I would not be surprised if we need them to deploy for down power lines. So when fire and rescue arrives and finds a down power line, they will call for our volunteers to come protect the perimeter and keep people safe, so that fire and rescue crews can then go do more important or critical work.
Interesting. Yeah. And again, just to reiterate that program, so it's free for people to sign up for, and the training is free, if I understand that correctly?
It's all free. Absolutely. Yes. We do not charge anyone for any of this education. And then once someone is enrolled in the program as an active NET, we make available advanced trainings like CPR and advanced medical trainings and de-escalation and mental health first aid and those kinds of things. Wow.
And how many people do you have signed up for it so far currently?
Our current active volunteer base is about 1,300. There are probably about 3,000 people in the queue. And I shouldn't say queue. They've signed up and expressed their interest. And then when we open classes, if the schedule works for someone, they can register. Right now, the current cohort we're running, which will graduate in a couple of weeks, is about, I think it's 119 people. So we try to do that 3 or 4 times a year.
Wow, that's great. All right. Well, so that's something that everybody out there can kind of think about. And if you haven't joined up for that, then that's some way that you can help out your community, I would imagine. So really coming down to that community assistance.
Exactly. It's all local.
Anything else that you think is important for people to know just ahead of this, and just to be thinking about, or at least have in the back of their mind?
Yeah, I can't emphasize the training enough. Understanding, of course, that not everyone can commit to 4 days in a weekend. It's quite a commitment. So we also partner with a number of other groups through the Community Organizations Active in Disaster, or COAD. So we partner with community-based organizations who are already serving the community to support them in that mission, so they can do things like run emergency shelters and support house and feed folks when necessary.
All right. Well, Glenn, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it. And obviously a lot of coordination that's going on there between all the different organizations that you're helping out there with, to make sure that we, as you mentioned, fill in all the gaps. And we'll have to see where the weather goes for this event. But if it's not this one, there'll be another one. It's eventually it's going to happen. So thanks for joining us here, and just to give everybody something to think about and to prepare for, and consider joining that program.
Thanks very much, Greg.
All right, there we go. So again, we're talking to different organizations, finding out how they're preparing for it, and trying to get you some advice as well on things you can do to prepare for the potential of this winter weather. We've got you updated at kptv.com. That's always going to be going on there. So we've got our meteorologist, Mark Nelson, is going to give you the latest forecast throughout the day. There's also the Fox 12 weather app, another great app I recommend, and they give personal updates like constantly about quick updates and video updates of what's going on with the weather. So that helps out a lot as well. But again, thanks for joining us. This is Fox 12 Now. If it's your first time watching, we live stream here every weekday, starting around 1 p.m., going through 4 p.m., and we cover a wide range of topics here. You can find all of those segments on the Fox 12 Oregon app and at kptv.com under the Fox 12 Now tab. So those are all places to take a look at the different conversations and segments that we get to have here. But I will talk